This learnings article announces next week we're getting an update. There's going to be a couple of things which they're touching on here. They have taken our feedback from the Tremere update. They've seen we love the Tremere update. There are some things which have been very negatively affecting our experience, and they touch on what I would consider the 3 biggest ones in this article, and then they go ahead and talk about some of the other issues which I think should follow up after this at the end of the article. The reception of the update was very good. It goes ahead and talks about what many of us liked. I think the traversal of Scholar was probably one of the biggest ones for me, just because it meant you weren't getting stuck on stuff quite as much. You could just leap into the air all the time rather than having to use your wall bouncing and parkour as much, which with the server instabilities hasn't been as fun recently. Increasing the number of players, we kind of talked about this real quick. Retention is increasing, but it's not where they want it to be. They touch on some of the things they could do to improve retention later on. So in the second week after the patch, we saw a noticeable drop in the users. This is probably likely because people would finish the battle pass. The servers were not in a very good state. Aim assist has been kind of running rampant recently, and its trios hasn't been very fun. So they go ahead and talk on these issues. Server performance has been like their priority by the looks of it. We've got quite the article here just talking about it. They're looking at the hardware improvements. They have increased the amount of servers in here. That means there are less instances running per server, which should increase stability. We have seen less frequent lag spikes we've been having in the matches, or at least I have. That is probably part of it. That's already been rolled out. Then they go ahead and talk about the software improvements they can do, which involves measuring the performance impact of all the different mechanics in the netcode individually to track down where they needed to optimize. They found a couple of issues. They're going to be improving these. Many of these updates and improvements they have made will be already in the update, which is planned for next week. I expect Tuesday, that's where they normally do this kind of thing. I expect we'll see patch notes on Monday, update on Tuesday. Balancing aim assist has been another big one. I've seen a lot of people complain about this. I've been saying it's overpowered for a long time now, and they finally got around to looking deep into it and changing how it works. They haven't necessarily nerfed aim assist. What they've done is made it so there has to be more player inputs to actually get the same kind of assist as you were. Rotational assistance in particular has been a bit too much help without input adjustment by the player. They have tweaked it so it will require more manual adjustment, especially at close range. This will mean that if you're flying past your enemies, it should make it a lot harder for them to hit you. We're going to have to keep an eye on this though, as obviously there needs to be some kind of balance between PS5 or controllers and keyboard and mouse, as they still see a performance gap between the two input systems. So they're keeping aim assist, they've just tuned it down a bit. There will still be an aim assist, but there is a difference now with these balance changes as we've adjusted the tracking. It should mean that you have to actually physically try and aim more rather than letting it do it for you. So that's going to be a good change. Trio's matchmaking times, this is where they've added bots. We kind of talked about this the other day. Basically, if you are in a period of time where Trio's matchmaking was not possible to find a match, they are going to start adding bots into these matches. It won't be before 8 minutes worth of queue time. It's mainly going to affect people who are not in Europe, not in NA, or out of peak time, so like 5 AM or something. Like, it's only going to affect a small percentage of people, but it is going to mean that you will be able to find Trios matches at any time of the day, and they might even get a little bit less sweaty because more people start queuing for them because they can just physically find the matches. This has been one of the big bits of feedback. Some of you mentioned that you'd play this game mode more if you could reliably get into matches. That's been my case, for example. I've just avoided Trios because I never knew if I was going to find a match or just sit around in queues for a long time. There's still no skill-based matchmaking in there, so expect sweatier matches, especially with less bots going around, but there should be a small influx of players in the next update, so keep your eyes out on that. Then we talk about more features and content. So obviously a lot of us were quickly completing the Battle Pass within some of the really good players within a couple of days. Myself, I think it took me 2 weeks to complete it. So again, like, this is now old content for me, for example. I have finished this for a week. I've had nothing to technically work towards other than just replaying the game for pure fun. Our current plan to address at least a part of this involves community voting. This is something that won't come to the game until May, but we're going to be able to vote in-game on features which will either be added, changed. This is all going to be within the game, but they'll talk about this soon. They're going to have a little bit more information for us. They give a shout out to a few creators in here who have organized tournaments, who do some content. They're looking to try and support creators. Anyone who wants to do tournaments, events for the community, with the community. If you want to plan something, if you want to try and get something organized, reach out to the devs. They're going to try and help you as much as they can. We will gladly help and support them when they're able to. So many of these things are coming in the update scheduled for next week, while others are planned for later on. We are pushing on, and we hope that after making the necessary improvements to the issues highlighted by the majority of our community, we get that increase in numbers and retention we're looking for. So there you have it, some much needed improvements coming in just a few days. Let me know what you're most looking forward to down in the comments, and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss my full update coverage video. Or come on over to my Twitch channel where I'll be playing the new update live this week.